Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Training and Tangents podcast. Now, this is a special episode because this, Tom, is the finale episode of this season. We're going to be taking a little bit of a break. We're going to be coming back for season 2 in a couple of weeks. But we thought in this last episode we would give you all of the essentials that we've talked about over the last, how many weeks? Many. At least 20 weeks we've been talking.
If this is episode 20, then it must be 20 weeks.
Well, that would
We've
be
been releasing them once a week.
Well, there you go. That's why Tom's here. So
I could count weeks. Sorry.
Yes. I can't, clearly. We've taken breaks, so we okay, anyway.
Yeah,
so in this episode, we're going to be going from, we're basically going to be cherry picking 2 topics about nutrition and 2 topics about training. We're going to start with training, and then we're going to have the 5th and final point that we think is arguably, Tom, probably the most important aspect of the entire thing, correct? We'll not tell them what it is yet, but would you agree? The 5th point
absolutely.
is that you want to stick around for that. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button, share this with anyone you know. Again, we massively appreciate everyone who has checked out the podcast so far. I even got a message the other day from someone saying how much they're enjoying it. We really appreciate that. And we are going to be going into, as I said, training first. But Tom, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been good actually. I was trying to think. Yeah, I've got the Bristol 10K coming up in. Well, when this episode will come out after it's been. So hopefully I'll be all good by that point. But yeah, it's in 10 days ish time now. So my training's been kind of geared around that. And I've actually stopped doing BJJ for the last couple of weeks because I picked up a little bit of a niggle in my adductor / groin. So I've just been kind of managing that alongside the running volume and trying not to overdo it as I have a tendency to do sometimes. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good actually, because obviously I had that period of being ill. I hadn't realised how sort of unfit I was feeling off the back of that. So I've had now probably 8 weeks building up, and I'm actually like haven't had that consistency. Only like just running twice a week, but that consistency over that period of time, like I'm feeling pretty good. Initially, I was hoping to run sub 45. I think I'll be close. I might be just off, but I'm going to give it my best shot.
I have a feeling you probably will. You'll probably do okay. I think the event itself will probably push you that little bit more than like training does. Like most things, like the training to it, you're like, but then the actual adrenaline of the race and having other people around you.
Yeah. Well, I gotta make sure that I don't get too excited and go off too quick, because that'll be the thing that does me.
Kind of, yeah. That's what I would struggle with if I ever wanted to do long distance. Which I'll not say no. I'll not say never, because there's some things that I like being wrong from time to time, but yeah, I have a feeling that if I ever was going to do a long distance event like that, the temptation to just, like the natural sprinter in me would be like, let's go.
Yeah.
But no, you've got to pace yourself. Well, good. I'm glad that you're feeling better and you've got yourself something to train towards. And the BJJ, stopping that for a little bit to make sure you're not absolutely buggered before your race is probably smart. Like if you're going to pick up injuries, it's probably going to be from tussling with other people.
Yeah.
In all likelihood.
It's just a brief hiatus is how I'm seeing it. And I am missing it, but yeah, we'll get back to it soon enough. How about you, mate? How are you?
You're talking about the podcast, right? Not BJJ.
Yeah. bit of all of it.
bit of both. My name's
yeah.
You can. I was going to say you could BJJ, but yeah, I'm missing a B in my name, but close. Benjamin's got a B and a J in it.
Yeah.
No, I'm great. I was reaching for that one. I'm great, man. I felt fantastic. I've finally gotten back into training and really found my passion for it again. The way I've structured it has been it's been an absolute game changer for me, and I can feel that, like that passion and that enthusiasm in other aspects of my life as well, which is, I think, one of the most fascinating things about training is that people do assume rightfully that, oh yeah, it's just going to have one impact on how you feel physically, but how you feel mentally when you're in a good rhythm and in a good groove. And especially for, both you and I have been sick or injured for a long time, quite recently.
Yeah.
You've been sick for longer than you've been sick for a lot, from what you told me. Ever, yeah. Again, my shoulder being injured for so long. It's just something, I think when you've been away for it, not from your own accord, I think there's something so, it's just nice. It's just like getting back into like warm water again. It's very, very satisfying. So
Yeah.
we're going to be talking quite a lot about some of the things that actually I've been doing for myself in these 4 topics. So we're going to start off with training. So again, the way we've structured this is we're trying to limit this to 2 pieces of information on training that we think are really valuable for you, and then 2 pieces on nutrition. We're going to start with training. So Tom, number 1, what do you think is one of the most important aspects when it comes to training and really moving the needle forward?
So I think one of the best things that you can do for your training, full stop, is simply tracking it and keeping a record of what you're doing, and then slowly over time trying to beat what you did the previous week. I think it's so easy when you're not tracking things to just kind of end up going through the motions and doing the same thing over and over again, because at past a certain point all training feels quite hard. Like you could, and if you're doing 8 reps of something, it'll probably feel quite hard by the end of that, but that doesn't mean that you could push on and do 10, push on and do 12, push on and maybe even do 15 on that weight. And it's only by tracking that and becoming aware of what you're doing in each session, and being like, and then having like maybe setting yourself a target of trying to beat that the following time, that you'll really end up kind of making progress in terms of training. So I think tracking is so unbelievably important, and also such a simple thing that you can do. And I think it's one of those things that, like, everyone obviously like always worries about training being optimal. Like, track what you're doing now, see what that looks like, and then you've got a baseline to progress and optimize if and when you kind of want and need to. But yeah, just that habit of tracking what you're doing is unbelievably important. Like, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, when we were discussing these topics, I think we both came to the agreement that tracking was the number 1 thing when it came to training. It is, I mean, yeah, you've hit on so many of the points that I would hit on as well. I think, yeah, we're always looking at like optimizing things, and we'll talk about this in the 5th point a little bit more. I'm trying to allude to what we're going to talk about in there, but optimization is great. But if optimization for you sucks, as in like you don't enjoy it, you don't enjoy the optimization side, like, let's say for example, someone says that bench pressing is the best way of building your pecs, but you hate bench pressing. It is not the most optimal path for you, and I think I think being optimal with everything is obviously ideal, but not realistic. And I think when you're tracking everything, first of all, you know exactly what you're doing when you go into the gym. I think that's one of the greatest things you can do, is know what your plan is ahead of time. It takes away so much thinking. In fact, I literally just had a friend of mine who I've known for years. He asked me, he's like, "Oh mate, could you write me a program?" I was like, "Yeah, cool, but you're gonna go through my process. We're not just gonna." I'm past that point of being like, "Here, mate, here's a workout program to follow." Yeah, we're past that. But he was saying, like, he messaged me the other day saying, and he's a well trained guy, like he knows exactly what he's doing. But he just said to me, like, it is so nice just showing up to the gym, looking at my notes and being like, right, this is what I'm doing. So it gives you so much structure in your programming. It also, I think if you're going into the gym and winging it, I think a lot of people end up not knowing where to finish. Like, they just don't know, is that enough?
Yeah.
And
Am I done?
Should I do next? Am I done? Yeah. Whereas if you go in with a plan and you're like 5 exercises, 4 exercises, whatever it is, cool. Once I've done that, I've done it. You can check it off. And you're also right in saying that, tracking your stuff, even if it's not optimal right now, just in terms of like how nice it is to flick back. And if you've been, I think I've filled maybe 7 or 8 books. It's nice to actually go back and just see what you've been doing over the years. And sometimes, you can look back at photos and be like, oh, what was I doing at this time of, in this year? What way was I training? And you can go back and you can look at it. So not only does it help you in terms of obviously progressively overloading things, it can also serve as a motivational tool to see how far you've come, or to review things that you thought worked well, because this is like constantly an ever-changing process. You'll not be training, in all likelihood, you won't be training the way you are today in 5 years' time, 10 years time because your priorities change. But so it's just another aspect that I think isn't really talked about when it comes to tracking is the information it can provide you, but also that sense of motivation. So yeah, I think tracking super important if you're looking to improve, which let's face it, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are. Tracking is it's just a must. Like, you just need to do it. You need to know what you're at. You need to know where you're trying to push from, because if you're trying to remember every single weight you go into the gym and the other thing is it will push you outside of your comfort zone, because I think naturally we're all wanting to stay in our comfort zone. And if you look back and you're like, oh, I did 10 reps with that weight like last session, you can get competitive with yourself. Whereas if you're not tracking, you're like, oh, no, did that, I'll just stick. People will, generally speaking, stick to the comfort zone, which is not where you grow. You grow outside of that, and that's, I think, tracking really kind of forces you to make those steps that are necessary when it comes to that. Yeah, anything else definitely when it comes to tracking that you think is beneficial to people?
Just a point on sort of like practical application and actually progression in the gym. One of the simplest but best sort of methods of progression is called double progression, where you're trying to either add weight or reps to the bar each week. So basically, if we look at an exercise, let's say a chest press, you've got programmed 3 sets of between 6 and 8 reps. Basically, you're going to do those 3 sets, and when you hit 8 reps, you're then going to bump the weight up for the following week. So it might be like week 1 you do 8-7-6, week 2 you do 8-7-7, week 3 you might do 8-8-8, and then the following week you're going to bump the weight up and start again. Obviously, like there is going to become a point probably later down the line where you will plateau and you can't add weight or reps for a period of time, and at that point you may need to look at how changing your approach. But within that framework, most people can continually progress for like a lot of weeks, if not months at a time, just using that really simple kind of framework of progression. And that's again where like I say, just sort of actually recording and tracking what you're doing is so valuable, because you might forget what you did the week before or the week before that. So just having that note, and it can be as simple as like just write it in the notes app in your phone, if like at very least, or get a notebook and write it in your notebook so you're not on your phone when you're training.
There's the book that I would suggest people check out is go on Amazon, and I think it's Clever Fox Gym Planner. It's what I've been using for. Yeah, it's fantastic the way it's set out. You've got like, I've been using it for I think maybe 4 years. I was just seeing if I've got one in here. No, they're all down in the gym, but it's fantastically laid out. It's got a load of extra stuff in there. We're not sponsored by them, obviously. It's just something I find to be really beneficial. And I also prefer, I think we spend so much time on our phones, and this is me, my clients have access to an app when they work with me, but I still encourage a lot of them to like just get a pen and paper and just send me the screenshots of their workouts. And yeah, so I'd highly recommend spending 15 quid grabbing that book, Clever Fox Gym Planner, I think it is called. You'll see it anyway. Yes. I've been using it for a while, but it's fantastic.
Nice.
Okay, anything else to add before we go into the second one? Again, they're equally important. They're just 2 kind of top tips as such when it comes to training.
Point number 2. So this is one that we've touched on in quite a few of the episodes as well, and it's the premise that you probably need to do less than you think to maintain and also to make progress. So just one of the biggest barriers that we often come up against when people are training is like the all or nothing mindset. And if they can't train 4, 5, 6 days a week, that like they can only maybe train twice a week, they're like, oh, it's not enough. I'm not gonna be able to do enough in that time to actually progress where I'm at. It's like, you absolutely can. When you look at like the science behind it, like a lot of people kind of quote the sort of 10 sets per muscle group per week, which like obviously not always, but for the most part will give you sort of optimal muscle growth. Yeah. What people don't sort of normally look at in that study is that 4 sets and under was giving over half of the potential gains that the 10 sets were giving. So for every set that you were doing, you basically get less returns back from it. And and we've touched on this quite a lot, but yeah, just getting away from that mindset of thinking that you need to do lots to make it worthwhile, is probably one of the biggest things holding a lot of people back.
Yeah, I agree. It comes down to quality over quantity, and I think nothing is better represented, or a better representation of that phrase of quantity over quality, or quality over quantity, sorry, than training. I think the thing that I think people struggle with is they see training as an action, whereas recovery is not taking action in their head. Now, obviously, that's a very simplistic term of it, because obviously recovery requires planning of nutrition, stress management, sleep, all those things. Yes, but you're not taking action. Whereas people, when they're in this process, they feel like more action is better. But sometimes taking a break from the gym is actually the best thing you could possibly do, and recovering is the best thing you could do, so you can maximize your performance the next session. In fact, I've got a client who's going through a cut at the moment. He's doing it very, very well, and he's like, I'm training 4 days a week. Can I train more? I'm like, yes, you can, but there's absolutely no reason for you to train more. You'll just be doing it because it's going to make you feel like you're doing something. Yeah. If someone refuses, let's say someone's dieting and they refuse chocolate cake, there's not really like there's no action there. You're just using willpower, and that depletes, and it doesn't make you feel great because there's no actual action. Going to the gym, you feel like something productive is happening. Go for a walk, something productive is happening. You're actually having an impact and an action, rather than just using your willpower, which again doesn't really give you that much of like a yay. Refusing chocolate cake, if you're a big chocolate cake fan, it's not really that. Yes, you might get the like, oh, I feel great because I didn't do that, but that's short-lived. So I think it is challenging when it comes to that. But yeah, I've experienced the best results myself and with my clients by reducing the quantity of what they're doing in a week. Like most of my clients are doing 2 sets of everything, because I'm trying to get them into the mindset of you should only need 2 sets, really. If you need additional sets, you probably didn't work to the capacity that you are capable of or is required of you on those first 2 sets. Now again, 3 sets and 4 sets, yes, there's certain exercises in certain circumstances that's absolutely fine, but I mean, I've been training for 20 years and I'm making better progress by doing 2 exercises for each, 2 sets for each exercise, and I'm only doing 4-5 exercises in a session, and I'm enjoying it so much more. It seems so much more practical to me. It takes up less time. I can have more intent with every single set, rather than feeling like the sets are just dragging on and on. So massive one is that quality over the quantity. I think, the idea that, one session isn't enough, well, it's better than 0. So you need to get that out of that. You need to get out of that mindset. And I think another kind of way to time that is getting rid of the all or nothing mindset. Something is better than nothing. Like 5 minutes of walking is better than nothing. Eating 1 piece of fruit a day is better than eating no fruit a day. That's the mindset that I really hope that if you're listening to this is a mindset that you really start to adopt and make your own. Okay, so anything else to add to that one?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so just to recap. Number 1, tracking, knowing what you're doing. Number 2, you probably don't need to do as much as you need to. So now, neatly moving into nutrition. So again, we were talking about this before we started, and we think that one of the most important elements to nutrition to really put you up, to serve you and to help move the needle forward, we're referring to that kind of phrasing, is simple awareness. Now, awareness obviously it's an umbrella to so many other things. So Tom, what does nutritional awareness mean to you when it comes to giving people advice when it comes to this stuff?
So I think it depends very much on the person and like what they're doing, and also sort of what they're willing to do. But I think just building a general awareness of what food is going into your body to start with is a really, really good, it is the foundational point. And that might be tracking your calories on an app like MyFitnessPal and seeing like exactly the sort of calorie and macronutrient breakdown. I think there's a lot of value in doing that for a short space of time, but it could also like becoming aware of the amount of fruit and vegetables you're eating in a day, and say that's like 3 or 4 pieces. Like it could be as simple as like, okay, I'm eating this at the moment. I've built that awareness now. I know that I probably could do more, and focus on just adding an extra one. So I think like we didn't want to like use the terminology tracking again for this, and not because like I think like being like meticulously tracking everything on MyFitnessPal is just one element of this. I think realistically from a nutrition perspective, it's a continuum, and it could start with, like I said, it's sort of more of a habitual approach to sort of looking at the amount of fruit and veg you're eating, or the amount of water that you're drinking, or like elements like that. And the on the other end of the spectrum is tracking everything on MyFitnessPal for a period of time. But in between that, there's a whole host of different ways that you can go about building more awareness around your nutrition, and that could be just like tracking one meal or one day a week, for example, to start to like build up that awareness of like, okay, this has got this many calories, this has got this amount of protein, this has got this amount of like carbs and fats in it. Or it could be just tracking protein sources to build a better awareness of like what protein you're eating. Or like I said, it can go all the way up to tracking absolutely everything, which will give you the most data, but is also harder to do, and not completely necessary for a lot of people. But building an overall awareness of what's going in is going to be the best tool for right now and for the future, to be able to like know that you're doing everything you can to be as healthy as possible, and get to the goal that you want, whether that's a body composition goal, whether that's fueling your sports performance, like whatever it is. Building awareness is that foundational step. What would you add to that, mate?
I mean, I echo everything you've said there, to be honest. I've said this a couple of times to people, that sometimes simply bringing people's awareness to a certain decision, like I've said to my clients a lot, ask yourself the question, where's the protein in this meal? That simple question can be enough for someone to make like huge changes in their physique, in their performance, in everything. Like, just where's the protein in this meal? That simple question, which again is awareness. It's just you being aware of what you're doing and the actions you're taking. It also allows you to have intent, which I think is such an important element to everything we do here. We need to have intent if we're trying to achieve a goal. We can't just walk in and start winging things. Like, if you're trying to get bigger, you're trying to get stronger, you're trying to get fitter, you're trying to get whatever, going in with this kind of like wing it approach, good luck. Like, it's just not how it's not how it works. So I think bringing people's awareness to the simple things, like, have you had any fruit today? You can literally ask yourself those questions. Have you had any greens today? Have you had something that you could go out and find if you were, a hunter-gatherer? Like that, it's very simple questions like that. Or have you been eating a lot of processed? And again, we're not demonizing things, but generally speaking, minimizing the amount of processed foods that you have, especially the ultra-processed things, probably going to put you in a good place, in terms of a health perspective, than just not being aware of that and just eating everything around you. So I think, awareness is a huge one. Instead of we said that at the start, it's kind of an umbrella of like, there's so many things that can go into that. Yes, tracking meticulously will give you kind of like what we were talking about earlier in terms of optimization, but there's a cost with that. There's always a cost. And I think some people are really suited to tracking stuff. Some people aren't, but you can always find the kind of what works for you. And at the end of the day, we can avoid this. Like, if you want to get something that you've maybe never achieved before, you have to be willing to work hard and do things you've maybe never done before. We can soften this up as best as we can, but at the end of the day, it requires hard work. It requires you putting in efforts, and it requires your awareness to that, to whatever you're doing. So I think, awareness is a big one.
Just one other thing to add to that as well is, obviously we've kind of framed this from like building awareness around like vegetables or like the water you're drinking, that sort of thing. I think there's also like on the opposite side of that, there's like awareness of like potentially the times and the places that you end up over consuming, because for some people, again, that like thinking about and addressing that element of their nutrition might be enough to do what you need to do. So, and I think that's something that I work quite a lot on with my clients, because whenever they first come in, like we set the plan, we set the strategy that we're going to use, But we know that as you go along, there is going to be stuff that throws you off that plan as you go along, and becoming aware of those situations and those environments that do tend to do that for you is a really like important way to like actually sort of process making new, like building new habits and building new behaviors to actually fit what you're trying to do. And it can be as simple stuff as like, I was traveling and ended up stopping at a service station, so I had this. Like, okay, cool. Like, what is there something else we could potentially have there? Or I had to work late because work was really stressful, so I ended up doing this thing. It's like, okay, cool. Is there something else that we can potentially do in that point, or have something with you that will offset potentially taking the action that you took there?
You've just reminded me there perfectly of a scenario. If we can give like some real context to this, like for example, one of my clients works a lot, really struggles to get her meal timings in. That's the perfect time to have a shake. Like, make your own shake that you can take with you, that is literally just in your shaker, not a bottle like this, but it's in a shaker. You can always go back. I always call it like your insurance policy. You may need it, you may not, but at least you've got it there, that if you can't get your normal meal times in. And we all know, like, at some point we've all been shopping when we're hungry. You don't really make smart decisions when you're hungry. You end up just grabbing a lot of stuff that your brain's like, oh, yeah, dopamine, get us that. So, I like to make sure we've got something in place. And, like protein shakes or just shakes in general are a fantastic resource as like what I call like the insurance policy. That was good. You reminded me of that one.
Just
okay.
Like sorry mate, I was just gonna say one more as well that I get all the time is particularly if people are in a deficit and are maybe like intermittent fasting, not that there's anything magic about that, but you're basically like pushing your calories more towards the back end of the day for the most part, or like a specific eating window. If you're intermittent fasting, let's say, and then you've just had a relatively small lunch, a lot of people find that point where you kind of get home before dinner, start snacking, and then have dinner, and then kind of carry on snacking. It's like it's very easy to do that for two reasons. Firstly, you've not eaten for quite a while come that point, and secondly, you've also not eaten very much in total for earlier on that day. So there's a couple of things that you can potentially do. Either don't try and save all your calories for the end of the day, like space them out a little bit better throughout the day, like can help with some people. And another habit that I suggest to one of my clients is just like set a constraint. Like you get home, you're hungry, you're preparing dinner, you're going to be hungry. Before you have anything else, have a pint of water, a carrot and an apple, or something like that. Or that was the example I gave him. Or something protein based is another good thing. But like it just helps to create that. Like rather than just automatically doing these things, you're almost creating a little bit of space before you go and act, and that like a pint of water and a carrot and an apple will fill you up a little bit, and by that point you might be like, okay, I can I'm good here. If you're still really hungry, you might still have something else, but you're creating a little bit of space between like the impulse and the action that kind of comes about as a result of that, and for a lot of people that's enough to stop doing the thing that they would have kind of naturally done,
which perfectly ties into that awareness. Very nice, sir. I like that, and that's a good one as well. I get that little bit of like buffering space to be aware of your actions. And I say this all the time, but you are playing chess against yourself when it comes to all of this stuff. Like, every move, every little lie you're going to tell yourself. If you know that in advance, you can then put things in place. Like if you know, like you said earlier, you get home from work, there's that window where you're back home from work, you haven't had dinner, you're hungry because lunch has been 5.5 hours since, maybe if you had at 12 and you don't get back by 5:30. 5.5 hours to go, especially if you're in a calorie deficit, that's going to feel like a long time. So putting in those things, you're like, I know I'm going to be hungry here. What move am I going to put in to counteract this bad version of me that I'm playing chess against? Or not the bad version, but you know what I mean. It's a crude word to use for it, but I love that idea. And that's how I've even approached what I'm doing for myself, which is like, right, I know myself. I know that at night time, if I'm sitting down to watch TV, I know I'll snack. So instead of taking the entire bag of whatever you're eating, put some into a bowl, then go in. And if you want more, then you have to physically get up. And I know that I'm too lazy to get up and get more. Simple things like that are really, just being aware of your own bullshit essentially is a big part of this. Is why we think awareness is a nice little bubble to kind of take everything into consideration. So, point number 4, or point number 2 for nutrition, the big 3. So, Tom, what are the big 3 to remind people?
So, the big 3 that we mentioned, I think it was in episode 2, the episode we did about nutrition. Like, if you get these things right, you're going to get 90 to 95% of the results that you will ever get from nutrition. So they're pretty important. And the big 3 are your calories, your protein, and then fiber, which and like / fruit and veg. Obviously, like fruit and veg has a lot of fiber, but like talking about fiber specifically is and making sure that's high enough is going to be important from a satiety perspective, but also from a health perspective. But yeah, if you have an awareness of those 3 things, and those 3 things are in and around the right quantities for your goal, yeah, like you don't really need to worry about anything else. Like, yes, when you kind of get into sort of fine tuning for sports performance, we need to be more aware of like maybe nutrient timing and quantity of carbs and that sort of thing. But for most people, carbs and fats can be roughly interchangeable. Like obviously there is some nuance here. I'm not going to pretend there's not. There's like it's a very nuanced topic, but yeah, you like assuming you're getting like some fats in and some carbs in, and you're not going sort of like super extreme either way. You're like it's not going to make too much difference whether you have slightly higher fat, slightly higher carbs, if your calories are in and around the right place and you're getting enough protein in. Yeah. What would you add to that, mate?
I mean, to be honest, I'm just to be echoing everything you said there. Calories are going to be the most important thing. Calories are king. If you're not getting the right amount of calories, whether you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, maintain weight, if you're not hitting that number, on average, I think that's the most important thing to add here as well. You do not, let's say for example, you find out you need to eat 2,000 calories to lose weight, gain weight, whatever it is your goal is. And one day you eat 2,200 calories. A lot of people are like, oh no, I've gone over. Cool, but it's the average over time. Your body doesn't immediately make adaptations based off of one day. It's a system that takes time. You basically have to keep feeding it that information for it to do a process. It's not a one and done type of thing. So if you do eat 2,200 calories, you go, okay, well, over the next 2 days, I'll eat 1,900 calories. Boom, back down to the average of 2,000 calories. The law of averages is so important to really, again, be aware of. It stops you from making these, what I call unnecessary food prisons that a lot of people put themselves in, of like, I need to stick to 2,000 calories. I did this when I was bodybuilding. I would plan out everything to be the exact amount that I needed with no flexibility whatsoever. And that was a really bad decision for me in terms of just my relationship with food. And that's something that I worked out myself, and it's something I want everyone to avoid if possible. This is a law of averages. Okay, you do not need to be eating these numbers exactly, because that is very restrictive. Again, calories are going to be the king. It's going to be the ultimate dictator of whether you gain weight or lose weight. Again, weight being the operative word there. Protein is going to be ultimately what makes sure that if you're paying attention to your protein, you're getting enough. In all likelihood, you're going to be holding on to muscle tissue if you're cutting, and then you're going to be building muscle tissue and recovering and repairing that tissue if you're trying to build it or maintain it as well. So protein is going to be the thing that ultimately kind of has a bigger effect on your composition rather than just weight as in general. And then fiber. I mean, I had a guy doing a webinar. He did like a 90-minute webinar on the importance of fiber. Went into so much detail, and as Tom said, there's so many nuances and all this stuff. But in a nutshell, fiber is really, really important, not just for aesthetic reasons, which again, a lot of people are getting in training for that reason. That's cool. That's absolutely a valid reason to train. But from a health perspective, fiber it's just so important. Like you just literally Google the importance of fiber. If you get 2 minutes to Google it, it'll open your eyes up a little bit as to why it's such an important element to our dietary needs. And then it has a host of effects on other things. It's going to make everything else kind of a lot easier when it comes to satiety, digestion, bloat, all those things. So yeah, I think those are the top 3. Anything else?
Yeah, just on what you were saying about calories and manage that over the course of the week. You were talking sort of more reactively, like, oh, this day I went over, so the next day I'm going to try and like drop it down slightly.
Yes.
I think it's for most people actually looking at that proactively and being like, okay, this is my average, this is what I'm trying to hit. These days I'm generally a little bit less hungry. I'm thinking about food a little bit less. Like for the most part, that's people during the week, because you're working and you're kind of focused on that. So like it's probably better to try and drop down a little bit more on those days to give yourself a little bit more buffer, a little bit more flexibility for the days when you are likely to be more hungry. And obviously sometimes that you might have a random day where you are more hungry. Cool, like you like use that because you've got that little bit of a buffer. But yeah, like proactively having some days that are a little bit lighter in terms of calories, some days that are a little bit higher in terms of calories to fit your social life, your like when you're actually hungry and when you actually want to have those calories, because that little bit more flexibility will just make the whole process so much easier. Like Ben said, having like a really like rigid approach to it is one of the biggest things that's going to lead to having an all or nothing mindset around this. Like, oh, I failed, might as well just start again like next week or whenever it ends up being. Whereas actually if you're like, gone over a little bit today, no worries, and I can kind of balance that out over the next couple of days, like if needs be.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I love there. So go ahead, yeah.
Go.
Do we
No, I was
stick in the
just going to
analogy
say,
now?
like, yeah, you stick it in, mate.
Okay. I'm waiting for you to say that. Basically, the analogy I like to use here is if you mess up one day, it's like one of your tires in your car being flat. You don't go in and just go, well, may as well just deflate all the other three tires. Like that, apply that logic to it. Like you don't do that. No one does that. So don't do that to yourself. And it's something you said I want as many people to avoid as possible. Okay, Tom, before we get to the bow that ties this all together, which arguably we both think is the most important thing, I've got a would you rather. Ooh. So, would you rather be the best in the world at any sport, but for only 3 years? So you're the top guy for 3 years, or be in the top 100 at any sport and you play for 15 years? So either be like the MVP, 3 years, absolute, or be consistently.
Yeah.
I mean, top 100.
Top 100 is still pretty,
top sport like in the world. I mean, it's still good. I mean, imagine it's like,
yeah.
I'm trying to think of a really random sport that maybe isn't even 100 people playing, but in my head, I'm thinking like American football, soccer, rugby, golf.
Although, like American football, what's the average like career length is like 3 years, isn't it? So you might as well just go for broke.
if that, yeah. And 15-year career in the NFL is like people will. That's
so like Tom Brady is like pretty much the only one who's done that, isn't he?
Yeah, quarterback. Yeah, any position like kickers could probably do it for a while. Obviously, the only thing they've got to consider is the leg strength that might diminish over 15 years, which it would.
Yeah.
Your leg strength is probably not going to be the same as when you're 18 as it will be when you're 25, 35.
Yeah.
Then quarterbacks, like well protected positions. Okay, should we now? What sport would you want to be in? For me, I'll pick NFL,
I don't know.
Assuming that I could grow an extra foot.
Yeah.
Be a quarterback, 6'8" quarterback. Yeah. Okay, so what sport? Let's narrow this down, because again, that's going to definitely impact your decision.
Well,
let's pick a neutral one.
Okay, are you going to assign me a sport? Are you?
I was going to say, let's say it's tennis.
Okay.
Because I feel like everyone's seen tennis at some point. They could probably put that into the head. There's a lot of people who play tennis. Getting to the top 100 in the world of tennis, pretty good. Although, what's the pay like for tennis? I can imagine it's great.
I was going to say this question is actually like so sport dependent, because if it was rugby, I would say top 100 15 years, because you're probably always still going to make the first team at that, because you are. But like top 100 for tennis, like people only know like the top top 10 players probably, like not even that. So like if it was tennis, I would say I'm gonna be the best for 3 years and then leave it, because I don't even like to play in tennis that much. Maybe I would if I was that good, but
if you were the best in the world, I think you'd probably enjoy it a little bit more. It really is. It does depend on the sport. I think that's the most important element of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
'Cause you're
because at
thinking,
NFL, I probably, well, actually, NFL, even like top 100 for 15 years, you would make a lot of money. It's just like, would you want to like put your body through that for 15 years?
yeah.
I mean, same with rugby to a certain extent now, isn't it?
Any sport, like at that level, most
Yeah.
sports are going to play. You're going to play a toll. I need to pee really quickly. You come up with your decision. I have been literally busting. 2 seconds. You continue. I can still hear you. They won't be
Okay,
able to
mate.
hear me. No.
Yeah, it is absolutely 100% sports dependent, and I think I would probably choose rugby overall, and I would choose to play in this, be a top 100 player for 15 years. But and I think part of that as well is the fact it's a team sport. You're not just showing up and kind of playing on your own. Whereas in tennis, like obviously you're not playing on your own for the most part, because you would need a partner to be able to actually play. But with tennis, yeah, like I think any individual sport, I would probably say it would have to be the best for 3 years. But a team
I
sport probably would choose the opposite, because yeah, I think you can get a lot from team sports in terms of just like that kind of connection and camaraderie with people, and that sort of thing. I think
oh,
you get a
dude.
lot more out of that,
Yeah.
as well as obviously sort of being good at playing yourself, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think any individual sport, it would have to be like 3 years, and then 3 years and
Top
bust.
three single, 15
Yeah,
team sport.
make the most
I
make the most of it.
completely agree. We talked about this before, but like being part of a team, I think is one of the best elements in sports. I think
Yeah.
I don't think I would enjoy a single solo player sport. To be honest, I think you need to be a different type of animal
Yeah.
for that, and that's an animal I am not. I like the team. I like the community. And again, it's such a basic, fundamental human requirement is that
Yeah.
community. And yeah, I think there's nothing greater than a sports team. Okay, that was a good one. That was a good one. Well done for spinning the wheels there while I was peeing, and I washed my hands too. Okay, so let's tie this in a bow, shall we? So we've obviously talked about the two most important kind of elements when it comes to training, when it comes to nutrition. But this fifth and final point, I think we both agree, ties everything together. So Tom, what is the bow that neatly wraps this episode up and these concepts up as a whole?
100%, mate. I think so. The thing that we sort of spoke about, and sort of when we put our heads together for this, was just the overall enjoyment of the process, and what being fit and physically active brings to your life overall. And that's not to say that like training will be fun all the time, that everything will be enjoyable all the time. Like that's unrealistic to kind of expect that. But fostering some level of enjoyment from doing this stuff, and using it as a vehicle to potentially explore other things that you maybe didn't think you were for you, or you're maybe capable of, and that sort of thing, as you get sort of fitter, stronger and healthier. I think just the amount of experiences that you can unlock by being physically fit and active and healthy is it, like, yeah, that is the main thing, is like finding a way to make this enjoyable so that you can do it for a long time.
I completely agree. I mean, it's literally something I've experienced. I think most people have experienced that in their life if they've trained for any consistent period of time, where they've maybe achieved things that they thought were just not for them. And, you know, for me as a coach, there's nothing nicer than hearing, and I'm sure you agree with this, hearing your clients saying, like, I did this thing that I never thought would be for me. I never thought that I would enjoy going to the gym. I never thought I would use it as a way to help me in a tough week to deal with what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
For me, it's so I think this is such an important element to this all. And yes, you're 100% right. You're not going to enjoy every single session. You're not going to enjoy every single exercise. But I think if you can enjoy or take some form of pride in the fact that you did those things regardless of that fact, I think that's even that there's still an element of enjoyment you can take from it, or just pride.
Yeah.
You know, if you know you really don't like doing a certain activity or certain exercise or eating certain foods or blah blah blah, to me, I'm like, I'm still doing those things despite not
Yeah.
really enjoying it, because I know the benefits and I know that outcome.
Yeah.
I think it's so important. So I think, yeah, trying to fall in love with the process is so important. Like, everyone's always goal driven of this, like, the arrival fallacy of, I'll be happy when I get
Yeah.
to insert X, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, how about we try and focus on doing things you enjoy that will inevitably lead to that goal? And that's something that, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Dave McCann. Dave McCann has been proof listening to all of these episodes before they go out to make sure they're of the quality they need to be, and he's caught a couple of things for us. And Dave is actually a fantastic example of this type of stuff. That, you know, he said that listening through the episodes, one of the greatest things he's taken from this podcast so far is what we talked about, is that idea that most of your decisions should come from the identity of who you would like to become. So someone who is overweight, who wants to become leaner, healthier, stronger, you need to start making decisions based off of what that person, that leaner, healthier, fitter version of you would be doing. Are they someone who doesn't have any awareness when it comes to food? No. Are they someone who skips the gym at any opportunity? No. You know, you start making those decisions, you can't really go wrong. And but a lot of that is going to come down to your enjoyment of the process. And, you know, when it comes down to habits as well, it's very hard to get someone to stick to a habit if there's no real return from those. So I think, making sure that your enjoyment of the process and enjoyment of the whole, the process is the best word for it there, is
definitely
kind of the number one thing here. Again, there will be periods of time where you maybe do, I'm sure you take clients through periods of time. Rehab is a perfect example. We don't really want to do rehab. It sucks, but we also understand why it's necessary. That's not an element of this process we enjoy. But we enjoy the outcome of what going through that pain and the discomfort of rehab has, and I think that's kind of a good way of summarising it all. But yeah, keeping fun is the kind of fundamental wrapping paper for it. Put the fun in fundamental. Yes.
You're so cringe today.
So cringe. I felt that.
Who's that one earlier when you're like, if you wanna achieve something you've never achieved before, you're gonna have to do something you've never done before.
Facts, bro. Just straight facts. Should have had an echo or a reverb on that, and I'd be like, whoa. You want to do something you've never done before? You got to do things you've never done before, bro. There we go. I made it 2026 easy.
I was just going to say, like, I think when a lot of people are, you, just to kind of reiterate what you just said, I think when a lot of people are kind of setting goals, they're very much focused on that outcome. But like, probably the best way to go about this is like, set the goal, set what you want that outcome to be, and then look at what the process is that you need to get to that point, and forget about what the outcome is, and just focus on like showing up and doing that process. And obviously having like milestones and markers along the way to kind of make sure that what you're doing is giving you that, and sort of potentially course correcting if not. But it's all in the process, and finding ways to make that as enjoyable as possible is going to be the key thing. And I think, like, just thinking about sort of this from a long-term perspective, it's one of the biggest reasons that I enjoy sort of coaching people through calisthenics and bodyweight training, because it just and just being open to trying different modalities and different ways of training, because it makes training more enjoyable for the long term. Like, you might go through a phase of like bodybuilding, for example, being less enjoyable. Cool, go do something else. And sort of having different things that you can kind of fall back on at points where what you're doing potentially gets a little bit stale, just makes it so much easier to actually do this thing for the long term.
I agree. And I think we've both done that at several points in our careers as well. Like, you've pivoted, you've gone from more bodybuilding style, I've done this myself, bodybuilding style, to then more what we'll call functional. Again, I'm air quoting that because technically everything is functional if you look at it from that lens. Through like swimming and American football and all that stuff. And I think, trying to find what's fun. And again, another little point to add on to this is that, I get asked all the time from people who have children with CF, like, what's the best exercise this kid can be doing with CF? I'm like, what do they enjoy? Like, that's ultimately the most important thing. They could be like my little nephew, Matthew. Apparently he's absolutely incredible at football. Sorry. He's really good at American soccer. He's really good at football, but he just doesn't enjoy it. Like he's naturally very talented at it, but he's just standing on the pitch, just dancing and stuff. Like he's just not paying any attention. What he wants to do is play Warhammer with his Uncle Ben, which he literally said, "Look, I like sports, I like all that stuff, but this is what I prefer." And I think it kind of comes back to, like, especially talking to as parents with kids, like, let them do what they enjoy. If you get them into a good relationship with exercise, it's something that is not enforced upon them and something they get to do and is a fun process. I think that's setting people up long term to have a much better relationship with health and fitness in general. So that'd be the last thing I would like to add. But Tom, that's the last episode of the first season, which we've done over multiple weeks. It's impossible to track how many weeks we've been doing this. Like, it'd just be utterly impossible. There's no way that we can really quantify how many weeks it's taken us to get to this point. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been good time spending. To be honest, a massive element of this for me, the enjoyment of it, is obviously talking about this, and we talk about this as our jobs, and we love it. But the thing I've enjoyed genuinely is just been chatting to you and spending time with you. So.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I'd completely echo that. I definitely wouldn't have stuck with this as consistently had these calls not been as enjoyable as what they have been. So yeah, no, it's been wicked catching up with you, mate. Yeah, no pain, no gain. Job.
No pain, no gain. I'm gonna get that printed on a t-shirt. All the cheesy phrases printed on a t-shirt. That should be our merch store.
Look, definitely.
If you've gotten to this point in the episode, again, we really appreciate everybody listening. Please share this with people who you might think would appreciate this, or who would appreciate this. Not might think. Terrible English there. Anyway, Tom, where can we find you on social media?
Just before that, I was going to say, obviously this is the last episode of season 1. We will be taking a short break. In season 2, we are going to be getting some guests onto the podcast to chat to. So if there is anyone that you know that you would like to hear on this podcast, or if you yourself would like to come on the podcast, then please do reach out and send us a message and let us know, because we're going to be reaching out to people to get them onto this podcast. So any help in terms of people that you'd like us to speak to, or any particular topics, we could look at potentially experts in those fields to bring them on. That was the last thing that I was going to say. In terms of finding me, I am at Tom Project Performance on Instagram, and projectperformance.online is my website. How about you?
Ben Mudge _ on Instagram. Still can't get that. Just straight up Ben Mudge.
No.
Still using it. And if you are listening to this, I've actually got my first charity event coming up in September for cystic fibrosis. So if anyone wants to join that or help me raise money for that, I would really, really appreciate it. It'll be on my page. You'll see it's Crossing for CF. If you've got any questions about that, please just message me. Awesome. With that being said, we will see you in a couple of weeks, and don't know how to end it. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening, guys.
See you soon. Bye.